All right. Good afternoon, sir, and good morning, everybody. If you are watching this, whenever you are watching it, um, you all know me, Pastor Shogu. And for those of you who don't know me, you are joining us in Victory Baptist Church for the first time. I'm Pastor Shogu. I attend here and I work with the ministry team here. I have online here with me um, Dr. Sola Ojewumi. I've known Dr. Shola for a little over 15 years, I guess. It was around 2009, 2010, thereabout. I was a university student in Ife. I'll come home briefly. And then I spotted the wonderful brother in Sunday school prep. That's where we first connected. And we've been friends and brothers indeed since then. So Dr. Shola is in the UK. He's a biochemist. He's a biochemist. I don't know what I'll call him again. I used to know him as a cell genetist, but now I don't even know what he's doing again. Genomic, something, 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 something. I'll leave him to introduce himself. But okay, yeah, so I guess that's what I'll do next. Dr. Sharp, please, can you introduce yourself? Where, let's know about you. Where do you work? What did you study and so on?
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Adegoke, for inviting me. I appreciate this opportunity. I'm Sola Ojewumi. I hold PhD in biochemistry from the University of Lagos, Nigeria, and that was in 2017. Um, Currently, I work as a senior research fellow at Queen Mary University of London, where I do a lot of computational genetics and statistical genetics, looking at different population data sets in human genomics. Yeah, that's what I do at the moment. But my
Uh,
background is in biochemistry.
okay, tell us a little bit about family life.
Yeah, I'm married to my darling wife, Mutupe Sola Ojewumi, and we are blessed with two children, Grace and Lucas. Grace is 9 years and Lucas is 7 years. And we are all together in London, in the UK here.
Okay, thank you, sir. Um, I relate to students here in our church, Victory Baptist Church, and I remember you telling me a story of yourself, and it's a fascinating story. And particularly, even if that's the only thing we can cover in this brief time, I would love that you share that story with us. That way we can, because some of us are coming from places where, maybe we're the first person to go to university in our family, or it's like, oh, I'm not a bright student. Some of us have been labeled things, average student, poor student, and we go around with some of these baggages into life, into university life, and it affects our approach to what we do. I remember you saying some things about when you finished O levels, you didn't make any papers. So, um, can you please walk us through that story? From finishing for the first time, what the O level result was like, and how did you become a senior research fellow in London?
Okay. Yes, thank you for the question. Um, what happened was while growing up as a child, my mom was working in a remote area as a ward maid. We called them ward maid that time, which was in a clinic in the village, just helping to do some cleaning. Somebody will call a cleaner today. So that was what she was doing, which was a government job. So most of the time she was in the village, but my dad was in Abeokuta. I came from a polygamous family, and my mom was the seventh wife, was the last wife. So I was the first child. So because of what my mom was doing, she mostly stayed in the village because of her job. So I was not staying with my dad. And of course, I wasn't staying with my mom. So I was staying with my grandmother, who was also in another village. So that's where I grew up. Um, by the time I was getting to secondary school, I didn't get opportunity to get to one of the one of the very good schools. So I managed to get into one school and just started living my life as much as I could. So by the time we'll be writing WAEC, so I'm just trying to break things, to shorten them.
Yeah.
And by the time I was writing WAEC in 1998, um, I I sat down for 9 subjects and I was only able to pass one, and that was Yoruba language. So I got A3. Was it A3 or A2? That time we used to use A2, but now they
A3.
have changed it. Sometimes I don't even remember what they have changed it to. So it was A2, either A2 or A3. And then in biology, I had P8. So which would be equivalent to, did they call it
D8.
E8
E8
now?
now. E8 now, yes.
Okay. Yeah. And then every other subject was F9. So chemistry, physics, agriculture, geography, economics, math, English, everything was F9. So in my WAEC results, you will not see where you got F9, the subject will not show in your certificate. So the one that you pass is what you will show. So I only have 2 subjects showing on my certificate, which was Yoruba
Oh,
and biology, which was so at that time I was still at that time I was in Abeokuta, so I was staying with my dad. Things were really difficult, and I started looking at opportunities to sit down for another WAEC or do GC. So I wrote GC in 1999, but by the time I'll be writing the GC, I'd already given my life to Christ. So what happened was I joined Baptist Student Fellowship the following year after I finished my secondary school. So I joined them in 1999 in February. And I started understanding Christ and all of that. And by June, July of that year, I can't remember which date exactly, I gave my life to Christ at one of the revival crusade we were doing in the church at that time. And one way or the other, I started improving in my communication because at that time, yes, I had finished secondary school. It was difficult for me to speak correct sentence in English language. You know, I wasn't a dull person, but I didn't have that opportunity. I didn't have many textbooks to read. I didn't have opportunity to go to lessons, things that, and then my mom was not with me. My dad
that
was
was
sick,
not
so
great.
there was no really help that I could get to make sure that I got the best out of the secondary education. So by the time I gave my life to Christ, I started reading and all of that. And I was reading Bible, I was studying to do another GC and do another WAEC, and started going to lessons and all of that. But one of the things that helped me in those days was as much as I gave my attention to reading the Bible, it also started changing how I was communicating with people. I was learning English language even from the Bible, unconsciously. And then one of the things that also happened to me at that time was that when I gave my life to Christ, it was like a paradigm shift for me. I had hope for the first time. Before
Mm,
that time, I didn't have any purpose for what I
mm,
want to do. There
mm.
was no hope in me. There was no, I wasn't really serious about life. So even now, when I think back at how I lived throughout my secondary school, let's say 92, 93 up to 98, can't really think about what my goal was, what I was really pursuing, what was purpose about life and all of that. So those period, I could best describe it as a dark period of my life, a
Mm.
period where I was hopeless, a period where I was without purpose, a period where I was doing nothing, similar to what the Bible says that the heart was without form and void. That was the way I could describe it. Darkness. There's no way you can describe darkness other than that. Void and
Yeah.
without form. That's darkness you know. So that was the state I could picture that I was. Looking backwards, you know. But when I gave my life to Christ, saying, "Oh, I need to be serious with my life. This is what I need." And one of that struck me early in my Christian walk with God was Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 11. For I know the thought that I have towards you, the thought of to give you a future today. So, because of my work with God, my relationship with God, it really helped me so much to be serious with my academics. And then time, even though I really don't know what, I really didn't know what I wanted to do with pharmacy, but
Okay. Sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
yeah, I can hear you.
My network kicked me out. The last part I heard was you are put in for pharmacy, even though you did not know what you wanted to do with pharmacy.
Okay, okay. So I wanted to study pharmacy. I mean, in those days, it was common. If you're in science, you wanted to do medicine, pharmacy. I mean, very few people wanted to do pharmacy, but a lot of people wanted to do medicine or they want engineering. But I wanted pharmacy. So I tried to get into that pharmacy, but that didn't work out. So I wrote JAMB again, even after getting admission to study biochemistry at Olabisi Onabanjo University that time, which was in 2002. So I still wrote JAMB in 2002. I wrote JAMB in 2003, but at some point I felt, let me just stop writing this JAMB. I could cross 100 level. I mean, I could cross to, when I'm going to 200 level, I could continue with pharmacy instead of continuing with biochemistry. So I tried that, that didn't work out. So I just said, let me just stay where I was. And I was really doing well in biochemistry. I mean, with 100 level courses that I've done at that time, because my goal was to be the best in whatever I wanted to do. So I continued with that pace because during the period while I was writing WAEC and JAMB, which took me 4 years, so I finished in 1998.
Hmm.
I was writing JAMB WAEC for 4 years and then got admission in 2002. So that means like I was entering university in 2002, the year that I should be graduating, like you
Yeah,
guys do today. You finish the same year, you go to school, and then after 3.5 years or thereabouts, you finish your university. It wasn't like that for me. So everybody has their own path. And that's one of the things I will talk about if we have time to get there at this point, that everybody has their own path. Life is not a straightforward. The road is not linear, okay? And then
yeah,
we can't compare other people. We just have to follow the path that God has ordained for everyone. Nature is from the start, but as we follow Him step by step, day by day, these senses, promptings leads us into where we go and where we should be. And that's what matters most in life. So the hard work I had put in during those 4 years that I was looking for admission really helped me a lot. Even when I got into the university, I was really hard working. And from year one, when I got to the university, I was serving student fellowship. By the time I was getting to I mean, by the time I was
hmm,
yeah, become the president of Ogun, going to different campuses, living outside the still doing well in my academic with all the biochemistry courses that
sorry about that, Dr. Shala.
yeah. So
Yeah, so is that by the time
um
you you started serving from your first day. By the time you got to maybe year 2 or year 3, you were become BSF president or something
Yeah,
like
so by the time I mean, from the first year that I got to the university, I started serving in the Baptist Student Fellowship. By the time I was getting to 300 level, I had become the president of Ogun State Baptist Student Fellowship, and that came with a lot of responsibilities. Going to the different campuses across the state, going to different local fellowships at the local churches, and traveling outside the state for different responsibilities, convention program. A lot of responsibilities. And with that, I was still on top in my academics. I didn't allow that because I knew that my primary goal of being in university was to study. And
that.
wherever I am, whether I'm at home or in school, serving God must always be there. And serving God goes beyond just being a leader. It talks about having a personal relationship with God. And I was somebody that was reading a lot, whether it is academic book or it was a spiritual book. I gave so much to learning, personal learning, commit my money to buying books, okay? Whether it's a spiritual book that I know will strengthen my work with God, or whether things that have to do with my academia in the school. So
Mm,
all of that played out in what I see today. And my goal then was I want to serve God. I want to know God more. I wanted to be serious in my work with God. So there was that personal drive. And one thing I have known is that if you are serious in your relationship with God, your academics or your career cannot suffer, because the same seriousness and commitment you put your personal work with God can be transferred. It's a transferable skill. It can be transferred into your
mm,
career. It can be transferred into your academics.
yes,
So
sir.
if you are struggling with one area of your life, we may check one, you can't say you are serving God and you are using that as an excuse. Okay, it was never an excuse for me that we're having to go to fellowship. I can't remember if that ever happened to me. I would go. In fact, there was a time we wanted to have exam like tomorrow. They went to Jebude from Agoye today. You know, I'm not being reckless. It's not recklessness. It was commitment I've given to the work of God. And then I have planned myself, I've prepared myself such that one will not disturb the other at all. There was no
Mm,
time. And so when I finished university, my first degree, I came out with 4.28, which was very strong to one. I went to do my NYSC. I continued serving God. I did my master's at University of Lagos. I came out with distinction. Only two of us came out with distinction. And that time, it was even difficult for me um, to do my master's program, because I was sponsoring it myself, and I would go from Lagos to Abeokuta. I was only attending classes 2 times or 3 times in a week. I didn't have opportunity to attend classes every day, because I needed to go and work in Abeokuta to teach in a JAMB class,
yeah.
A-level class. People who wanted to write WAEC, I was teaching them in Abeokuta. So I have to do that for 2 days or 3 days to get some money that I will spend when I come to Lagos during my master's program. You
Mm,
know, it was really difficult, but I went through it. And I still came out as the best student in the class. I had distinction. Okay, so that talks about how much commitment you can give to what you need to do.
yes,
And
sir.
not having money will not be an excuse. I can remember there was a day we wanted to write a test in the class that time during my master's program. I've not eaten, throughout the day. And we're writing the exam the following, we call it in course, which was like test, but more well structured than test.
Yeah.
We were writing it the following day. I went to write the exam with empty stomach. I can't forget. It was my friend who, after we finished the exam, that took me to the cafeteria and then bought food for me after writing the exam. I was practically hungry, going to the exam hall. And I didn't allow that to stop me. The money I didn't have, I didn't allow it to stop me. The clothes I didn't have, it didn't stop me. The food I didn't have didn't stop me. My work with God didn't stop me. It even reinforced my
Yeah.
commitment to
Your
what I was
commitment.
doing. So there's no excuse. I know people have different things in their background, different challenges, but you can decide not to allow them to affect you. You know, I didn't have computer that time during my master's program. It was my roommate that had computer and a few other classmates. So my roommate, when he would be sleeping, that's when I would use his computer to do the work I needed. Yeah. And then sometimes I will ask one of my friends, please, are you using your computer today? Can I come and borrow it? And I will borrow it. I will return it the following day so that I'll be able to do some work, catch up with some assignments, catch up with
Assignments.
some reading that I needed to do, and then catch up with what I needed to do for my project. Because for
Mm,
masters, you have to write your dissertation and properly structured than what you did during BSc. But in the midst of all of these things, I still came out best in my class, and only two of us had distinction. So I've had it, it was rough, you know, but one thing
mm,
that helped me throughout this process, I know we are different. Sometimes some people can go into depression because of this type of problems. People can get discouraged. They don't want to pursue their dreams, but I knew what my dream was. I wanted to do my master's in biochemistry. I mean, that was where my passion was, okay? Not because I didn't see job anyway. So I wanted to stay in the academia doing research and do teaching. And that's why I really wanted to do my master's program. So it was really tough, but I still went through it. And then after doing my master's, I got a job and started my PhD. And when I did my PhD, I finished my PhD in 5 years, which was very strange to many people because even the people that we finished together, four of us graduated the same time from our PhD. And I was the only one that didn't spend up to about 7 to 10 years. Other people were spending 7 to 10 years or even more before they could complete it, you know.
mm,
So I mean, I enjoy God's grace. So I must say
mm,
that. And you shouldn't have noticed that from my discussion. Okay. I've enjoyed God's grace. The turnaround was for me was when I gave my life to Christ. And the first thing that did in my life was it gave me hope,
mm.
you know. And then somebody who is living without hope in this world is living a meaningless life. The life
Yes,
doesn't
sir.
have any meaning. Okay. So it gave me hope for living here today, and
Yeah.
hope for living with him in eternity, which is
Mm,
even greater than any hope.
yes, sir.
Okay. And that was the light that brightened my world. Okay.
Mm,
And up to today, I still give my all to whatever I need to do in my career and all of that. And then, of course, I still work closely with God by God's grace. So at the end of the day, I finished my PhD. I came out with distinction. Everything was 5.0 from my PhD.
wow.
So that again was the story of God's grace, how I finished even within the record time, you know, of 5 years.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
so let me stop there. I think I've spoken a lot.
Yeah, and then my network has been kicking us in and out. Zoom is telling me I
Yeah,
have like 8 minutes more because I have the regular one. I used to think that one-on-one meetings could last for as long as possible, but I guess those
no, it's
people
40
are,
minutes.
it's 40 minutes now. You mentioned something about planning that not the fellowship work affected the school work. And I remember I called you to help me talk to a student not too long ago. And I heard some of the things you said about planning, and I was like, wow, even I did not do this as a student. You know, can you, in the next, I have 7 minutes, 49 seconds, in the next 5 to 6 minutes, can you just talk to us about planning? How should a student plan, for excellence?
Okay, thank you, sir. Let me tell you one thing that many people may not say. Our lives are in the hands of God. You cannot determine the end from the beginning. Only God does that.
Mm,
However, we can't live each day as it comes.
mhm,
We have to live it as we depend on God to help us. Okay, so that's it. That's one. So my main point there is you can't plan your life and say, this is the way my life will go from now on till I will become 80, and this is the trajectory. It's not possible. And then at the same time, you cannot say, I will live each day to whatever happens to me. In the midst of all this, how can you strike a balance? Number one, make sure that you are somebody that is dependent on God. Okay? I mean, I'm bold to say this because I'm talking to Christians. If I was not talking to Christians, maybe that finish your course. I don't know whether there's any 4-year course in Lautech. So if you have a 5-year course, your goal is, I will be in this university for the next 5 years. What do I want to achieve with it? I want to come out with first class. I want to come out with 2-1. That's your goal. Then, what do you want to do? Sometimes you don't know what you will do after you finish, which is all right. But as you continue doing your course, as you continue to pray, as you continue to interact with people, your mind becomes brightened. And because as you pray, the Holy Spirit will begin to open your mind. You may not even know, but at some point, it will be clear to you what you needed to do. For me, it was clear to me in 300 level that I wanted to be in the academia. I wanted to do research. I wanted to do teaching. I was reading a lot. I mean, I used to read a lot of books that time when I was in university, trying to learn more, trying to know what is God's purpose for my life and all of that. So I was reading a lot. And I just noticed I had passion for molecular biology and genetics. And unfortunately, the lecturer I was taking us was one of the worst lecturers we had that time. And unfortunately, again, he was a pastor, you know. But it wasn't a good teacher, you know, so he wasn't teaching us well. It was difficult for people to pass. But eventually, our set, we really passed his course that year. At least, I mean, a number of us. But I didn't let the way he was teaching discourage me. I just felt this is the field for the future. I think I need to learn this properly. Okay. And that's why I had interest in that course. And then I gave my attention to it. I was reading a lot, giving my attention to reading. So that's how I knew, oh, let me just stay here. Okay. But sometimes it may not just happen suddenly. It could have been as a result of the prayer you have prayed. So as you commit, so the best thing for you is make sure you are somebody that always commits his way or her way to God.
To the
He
Lord.
will lead you. He
Yeah.
will lead you. Even when you are not sure of what to do and you take a step, and even if you take wrong decision, for the fact that you always depend on God, searching out what is His will for you, I can bet you 100% you can never go amiss. It can redirect your step. And the mistake you have made, it will be like the most beautiful thing that has ever happened to your life, even if you make a mistake, as long as you are somebody that is dependent on God. I tell you for a fact, and that is 100%. So your primary goal now, you are in 200 level. You have 3 more years to spend in university. Your primary goal is to excel in this learning. You want to make your parents proud that they have not wasted their money, they have not wasted their resources. It was a difficult moment for me in the university because my mom was contributing and my dad, both of them were contributing to my university education. So my mom will collect corporate money from cooperative to send me to school. And then so that she will be able to pay her own part. My dad will pay his own part. My mom, both of them were contributing 50-50. Okay. But my mom, once she takes the cooperative, I'll be able to pay my school fees, join together with what my dad will give, and then I'll be able to pay for my accommodation. But after that, which is usually in August, after that, from that September, October, my mom's contribution will not be regular because she'll be paying back the money for the cooperative. And then I have 2 or 3 other siblings, younger ones, that she's also catering for alongside my dad. Okay, so the resources were not there. So in terms of financial resources, I was only buoyant once in a year,
Mm.
once a month, 1 month in a year. And that is usually around August. That's the only month I'm buoyant throughout the year.
Hmm.
Every other time in the year, my money was never complete. And the 4,000, I was collecting 4,000 for my pocket money in other level. When I was finishing in 2007, I still was collecting 4,000 naira. But in between, I had some siblings, some people around who was helping in one way or the other. So it was tough for me. But then I still came out well because I needed to be sure that even though things were difficult, if I get this certificate, it is a proof to me that there is nothing I cannot overcome, even if I'll be able to overcome this hardship. So the second point I'm talking about is when you make your plans, check the resources available to you as well. The resources you have may not be enough for you, but manage it. That's why I went back to how my mom was using cooperative money and all of that. I didn't have a lot of resources. I will use the money that I should use for food. I will use it to make photocopies. Okay? The money that I should use to eat, I will use it to buy books.
I have less than a minute. But
Okay.
I have less
So,
than a
so my,
minute.
my point is
Yeah.
focus, have a goal, be diligent,